Let's try and do better this week.
Welcome to View from the Top of the Goalpost. It is me, your host, Diesel, and I am all by myself for right now. Me and Chad are both on this episode, but it's split. I don't know what Chad's picking. Chad don't know what I'm picking. It doesn't really matter. My lead on Chad is it's pretty big, folks. I don't see a comeback for Chad this year, and I'm sorry, Chad, but you really put in a valiant effort. I know you've been trying, and you haven't figured out this season yet. And that's okay. I think I got this one on lockdown, but I guess we'll wait and see. Speaking of records, last week Chad ended up going 10-6, while I went 13-3, killing it as always, bringing my season total to 127-68. Chad is at 102-93, breaking the 100 mark finally, Chad. 25 games back of me, though, so better luck next year, pal. Merry Christmas. This week, we do have 6 teams on bye, and they are the Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, and the Washington Commanders. This is the final week of buys, so the last 4 or 5 week stretch we have coming up is crazy because it's going to be jam-packed, full of football, racing to the finish, and I can't wait. But to get there, we have to get through week 14. And what a better time to make some week 14 picks. And starting off with the Thursday night game on Amazon Prime at 7:15, we have the 9-3 Green Bay mother-loving Packers traveling to the 11-1 Detroit Lions. The Lions are favored by 3 with a 51.5 point over under, and 84% of the fan differential is on Detroit. And whether you are a Green Bay fan like me or a Detroit fan, and I don't think it really matters. If you're a football fan, I think you're going to be tuning into this game, especially with some of the other matchups we have this week. If you want to get some good football, I think Thursday night, Sunday night are your best opportunities. But this game is probably the best Thursday night game since being added to Amazon Prime. But with that being said, who am I picking in this game? Do you even have to guess? I'm sitting in front of their home field. And yes, the Lions may have come in here in October and beat the Packers, but that was the Packers of October. This is December. The Packers are turning it on. November was a great month. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. Their only loss is to the Lions in the last 7 games. And this team is ready and raring to go. Jordan Love is gone 2 games in a row now without throwing a pick. He's seeming to be more accurate. If you would get Dontavian Wicks out of the lineup, that'd be great because he just drops everything. The defense is a little banged up with Ignabare not making the start, and also Jair Alexander, who seems to always be hurt. This is his 4th consecutive game missed against the Lions, and we could probably really use him, but he's not healthy. He's not going to do us any good. I have the Packers in this game. I have the Packers. I don't like when teams take the ball first. I don't. And I had this discussion with Chad over Thanksgiving that I think 100 out of 100 times, if you have the option, take the ball after the half. But there is that, I would probably change it to 99 out of 100 times. There is one time where it's okay with me to take the ball first. And this is one of those games where you want to shove it right down the Lions' throat, score right away, get your defense out there, get a 3-and-out, go right back out there and score again. And I think the Packers have an offense to do that. I think they have a defense to do that as well. I think that this Lions team is starting to get wore down. They're very injured on the defense. They're not going to have Decker on their offensive line. They're just it's going to be a rough game for Jared Goff. They're going to get their yards on the ground. They always do. And I'm sure that Amon-Ra St. Brown will have a few catches. And I'm sure that Laporta will get in the game too. But I feel it. I am feeling it. The pack is back. We are beating the Lions this week on Thursday Night Football. The final score is going to be Packers 38, Lions 17, calling it. And I decided, since I'm not picking with Chad right now, I'm going to guess who he's picking in all of these games. And then you will be able to tally later when Chad's picks are coming up. I think Chad's going to go with Detroit in this game because, honestly, it's probably the smarter pick, but I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it. Chad has his questions about the Packers. I don't. Go Pack, go. Next game, Sunday, noon, we see the 3-9 Cleveland Browns traveling to the 9-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 6.5 with a 44-point over-under, and 93% of the fan differential is on Pittsburgh, as am I. Pittsburgh really has impressed me this year. Didn't think that they were going to be over 500 for the first time in Mike Tomlin's coaching career. Well, I was wrong. They're 9-3. They've reached that mark already with 5 games left to play. That is just insane. For a team that I didn't have high hopes coming into the season, being one of the better teams in the AFC and the leading team of the AFC North, that is just didn't see it coming, and I'm impressed. And they really impressed me because I thought that the Bengals, I don't know why I keep on picking the Bengals. I feel like every week they seem like they're on the brink of extinction, and you feel like their backs are against the wall, so they have to win. They don't win. I think the Bengals are done. I'm not talking about the Bengals. We're talking about Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh put a whooping on the Bengals, highest scoring Pittsburgh Cleveland game or Pittsburgh Cincinnati game in the history of their rivalry. And Russell Wilson is looking like Russell Wilson from the mid 2000 teens right now. He's looking like the Russell Wilson that took the Seahawks to a Super Bowl. Yeah, he did throw a pick 6, but after that, he was lights out. I really, really enjoy watching the Steelers team, and I also really enjoy watching Jameis Winston. He is a character, that is for sure, and he's entertaining. And win or lose, he's still going to put on a show. But I have Pittsburgh. I also think Chad will be going for Pittsburgh. Moving on to the next game at noon on Sunday, we see the 6-6 Atlanta Falcons traveling to the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 6 with a 45.5 point over under, and 88% of the fan differential is on Minnesota. And I pick against Minnesota every single week. I've been saying they're fool's gold. I've been saying a lot of stuff, and somehow by the skin of their teeth they keep on winning. They just keep on winning. They should have lost against the Cardinals last week, and they won that game by 1. They should have lost against the Bears 2 weeks ago, and they won that game in overtime. It just seems like somehow, some way, they always get it done, and I really, really do not like that. Being a Packers fan and chasing after them, it's not fun at all. And then this Atlanta team, real high on them at the beginning of the season. Chad has labeled them as the best of the NFC early on this year. They're collapsing. Looks like Kirk Cousins is years have caught up to him, all the injuries and his age. He's not playing as well as he was to start the season. He's not playing as well as he did for the Vikings in the 4 or 5 years he was with the Vikings. And now it's a revenge game for Kirk Cousins. He's going back to Minnesota. I wonder what kind of reaction he's going to get. I don't know. If I were a Vikings fan, I would cheer him because he didn't really do anything to hurt your team, and him leaving was kind of a mutual decision. And I think they're going to be better off with JJ McCarthy going forward, probably because he's younger. Hopefully not. But that being said, I'm going with Minnesota in this game because I can't trust Atlanta. I picked them last week and they let me down. They keep on letting me down, and they're letting themselves down, and they're going to lose this division because I don't know. There's too much talent on this team, and it just doesn't make sense. This defense isn't as strong as Chad once believed, and this offense, with all the talent, just seems like they can't mesh. Bijan has been having a better year than he did last year, that's for sure. Kyle Pitts has been doing about average, maybe a little above average than he's done, but Drake London really hasn't done anything amazing this year. Mooney has outperformed his previous seasons with the Bears, but he's also kind of fallen off the map. Minnesota has Justin Jefferson. I do worry about Sam Darnold being at quarterback because he's Sam Darnolding it again, and that's the reason why Minnesota is barely scraping by on the skin of their teeth. And I believe if they had a legit quarterback, they wouldn't be winning these games by one and in overtime against teams that they're clearly better than. But I can't just keep on picking against Minnesota and having them prove me wrong. Maybe this is a bit of reverse psychology. Maybe it's just I've finally given in. I don't know. But I got Minnesota in this game. Next game at noon on Sunday. We see the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to the 3-9 Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored by 3.5 with a 39.5 point over under, and 82% of the fan differential is on Tennessee. I do not know the status of Trevor Lawrence in this game. He took a really nasty hit on Sunday, and I don't really want to get too deep into it, but that hit was avoidable in my opinion. Tennessee is just not a good team. They have 3 wins. I predicted them to get 4 because they're going to beat Jacksonville. This is a game that I have zero interest in, and at the end of the day, it's not going to affect anything that happens at the end of the season because both these teams are out of it, and this is just a waste of space game in my opinion. But I'm going with Tennessee because of the picks. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you who I thought Chad was going to pick in the last game. He's definitely picking Atlanta. And this game, I think he's going to go with one of those. And then he's going to say Jacksonville because he thinks that I'm picking Tennessee. That's what I'm guessing. Our next game at noon on Sunday sees the 3-9 New York Jets traveling to the 5-7 Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored by 6 with a 45-point over-under, and 93% of the fan differential is on Miami. I am also taking Miami in this game because the Jets suck. Aaron Rodgers sucks. Aaron Rodgers put together this team, which ended up getting the head coach fired, ended up getting the offensive coordinator demoted, ended up getting the general manager fired. It is a shit show. And he's still talking about playing next year for somebody else. Who's going to be dumb enough to let him come and ruin another organization? I'm glad the Packers got rid of him when they did, and we have something to show for it. The Jets are just not good. Miami is a team that can't play in the cold, but luckily for them, they're playing in Miami. They're also got quasi-bye, as Chad likes to call it, because they played on Thanksgiving against the Packers. So they will have ample rest against the team that just sucks balls. And that's all I have to say about that game. Moving on to week 14. We're still in week 14, right? Moving on to the next game at Sunday at 12 p.m. We see the 3-9 Carolina Panthers traveling to the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 12.5 with a 46-point over-under. 98% of the fan differential is on Eagles. I mean, yes, I do think the Eagles are going to win. I'm picking the Eagles. Oh, yeah, by the way, Chad is picking. He's going to pick the Dolphins in the last game. I am picking the Eagles, but I don't think that it's going to be an easy game for them. Bryce Young in the last few weeks is actually looking pretty decent. He's looking like a quarterback that actually might survive in the NFL. And you know what? I'm rooting for the guy. He had got drafted by a team that shouldn't have drafted him. He has had multiple coaches already, and he's finally got a coach that is putting the pieces together for him, and he's starting to look good. And they have Chuba Hubbard, who is amazing. He's the best player that they got on that team. Defense isn't really going to shut anybody down, but the Eagles, they tend to play down to their competition at times. I look for this game to be kind of closer than people think it's going to be, but I still have the Eagles coming out on top because they're the better team and they're at home. And I just think that at the end of the day, the Panthers aren't going to do what needs to be done to finish off this win. Moving on to our next game at noon, it is a rematch of Super Bowl 37. The 2-10 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to the 6-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are favored by 6.5 with a 46.5 point over-under, and 96% of the fan differential is on Tampa Bay. We could probably label this one the Warren Sapp Bowl because you know how I like to give games names. Yes, this game. Las Vegas Raiders, they suck. They really do. They don't have a quarterback. They don't really have a head coach. Tampa Bay is rolling right now. Like Chad says, the cockroach. He can't be killed. And neither can this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team coming back from the dead, looking to take their division. And I like them to take this division because they're rolling. Mike Evans is insane for being in his 12th year in the league. In freaking insane some of the stuff that he's still doing. They just can't be stopped. This Bucs team, I feel like they're rolling. They're getting hot at the right time, and right now they're playing a good team to beat up on, and beat up on them they shall. Let's go with Tampa Bay in this game. The last game, Chad's gonna pick Carolina, and this, even though he has the second Carolina lock, he's still picking Carolina. And this game, he's obviously picking the cockroach and Tampa Bay, la cucaracha. Next game at noon, the final noon game of the Week 14 slate is the 4-8 New Orleans Saints traveling to the 2-10 New York Giants. The New Orleans Saints are favored by 4.5 with a 41-point over-under, and 92% of the fan differential is on New Orleans. The Saints actually have a real quarterback starting, and they have Taysom Hill, and they have Kamara, and MVS has been playing good too, I guess. The Giants, maybe they'll start Mr. DeVito. Maybe it's going to be Drew Lock again. I don't know. I don't like their chances in this game. I have New Orleans, even though I don't think New Orleans is very good. Um, this is another one of those games that's just kind of a waste of space game. I think at the end of the day, it's not going to affect any of the outcome of how this season plays out. So don't need to talk about it much more. I got New Orleans. Next game at 3:05, we see the 7-5 Seattle Seahawks traveling to the 6-6 Arizona Cardinals. I forgot it once again. Chad is also taking New Orleans. Seattle is favored by 3 with a 44.5 point over under. And I take that back. Arizona is favored by 3 with a 44 point over under. And this game is at a 50-50 split for the fan differential. And I am picking Seattle. This is a very important game for the NFC West as a whole. Seattle wins this game, they're going to have a 2-game lead on Arizona. And depending on what happens in the Rams-Buffalo game, they could have a 2-game lead on the Rams and possibly even a 3-game lead on San Francisco. Like, this is a big game for Seattle, and I think they're going to rise to the occasion. I do think that Arizona will put up a fight because I am starting to see what Chad sees in this team. Just not 100% sold on them. They do seem to lose a lot of close games as well. So if it's going to be close, I'm going with Seattle. And I think it will be close. I'm going with Seattle. And of course, Chad is going to go with Arizona. Next game, 3:25. We have the 4-8 Chicago Bears traveling to the 5-7 San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are favored by 4 with a 44.5 point over under. 73% of the fan differential is on San Francisco. Excuse me. Let me get a drink of my drink here. Live but recorded at the same time. That's what you get. Anywho, I have San Francisco in this game because the Bears still suck. I think that San Francisco, even without Christian McCaffrey, they've survived most of the season without him. I mean, not survived. They're 5-7. I don't know. Bears going to San Francisco. I don't like their chances. Just don't like their chances. Now they have interim head coach because their old head coach is a moron and is just like a person who doesn't play their hidden immunity idol on Survivor and gets voted out, gets blindsided. Well, Matt Eberflus is sitting there the same way. They take that hidden immunity idol and now it's a souvenir. Matt Eberflus has that timeout, and it's the same thing. I have San Francisco in this game. And really, I don't care, because I don't think either of these teams are going to the playoffs. Excuse me once again. Going on to the final afternoon game of the Week 14 Sunday slate. We see the 10-2 Buffalo Bills traveling to the 6-6 Los Angeles Rams. Chad's picking San Francisco, by the way. That's what I'm guessing. Keep on forgetting my game. Anywho, the Buffalo Bills are favored by 3.5 with a 49.5 point over under, and 93% of the fan differential is on Buffalo. And I am also going on Buffalo because I have this little rule that I don't always stick to, but never pick against Buffalo. And I don't know, this Rams team is up and down, up and down, up and down. And when they have played a solid team, that's where their 6 losses have come in. I just don't see them getting past Buffalo, even with it being in Los Angeles. I think Chad is going to take the Rams, but remember, Chad also took the Giants and the Jets last week, and I warned him against that. And who was right? This guy. This guy was right. We're going Buffalo in this game. Moving on to Sunday Night Football. at 7:20 on your local NBC affiliate. We see the 8-4 Los Angeles Chargers traveling to the 11-1 Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 4 with a 42.5 point over under. 75% of the fan differential is on Kansas City. And to that I say, have you guys been watching this season at all? I've been telling you, once we get to November, once we get to December, it's going to be up and down for the Chiefs. I've been telling you. And guess what? When it comes to Chiefs games, I am 12-0. I haven't got one wrong yet, and I don't plan on starting now. I am taking the Los Angeles Chargers in this game to upset the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Yes, I know what I'm doing here. I think the Chiefs, how they are 11-1, is mind-boggling because they're even worse than the Vikings by winning games by the skin of their teeth. I don't know how they keep on winning these games, and it's going to catch up to them. And they have a real threat in their division, which is this Chargers team. And this Chargers team trying to get back into the playoffs. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to beat them. The Chiefs are going to be able to beat them. I just think Chiefs are going down this week. And it's going to be down to the division rival. And I think it's on. I think it is on. The Chiefs are starting to crumble just a tad bit. But that's just this week. We'll see what happens next week for the Chiefs. Finally, Monday Night Football. At Jerry World, we see the 4-8 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to the 5-7 Dallas Cowboys. What a premier matchup for Monday Night Football we got here, don't we? Cincinnati is favored by 5.5 with a 49.5 point over under. 80% of the fan differential is on Cincinnati. I am too. Cincinnati is playing Cooper Rush. And the Bengals are playing Joe Burrow. Yes, they have CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys side, but they have Jamar Chase. They have T. Higgins. They have Gesicki. They have Isivas. They have a lot of talent on that Cincinnati offense. However, they lack talent on that Cincinnati defense, but I just don't think the Cowboys are equipped to beat this Cincinnati offense. That is why I am taking the Cincinnati Bengals. And that is all the games that we have scheduled for this week. Therefore, that is all my picks. I don't really have much more to say besides I think this week kind of stinks a little bit, but with some of the matchups. What are you going to do when we come out next week and I'm 13-0 from this week? Maybe I'll be singing a different tune. But we won't know until we pick for week 15, and I can tell you that I was 13-0. But until then, I'm going to bid you adieu and pass it off to my co-host. Oh, yeah, by the way, Chad is taking the Chargers and Sunday Night Football, and he's also going to take Cincinnati and Monday Night Football. Had to get that out there. But Chad, you tell the fine folks how you did in your locks. And I am going to say, let's go and watch some football.
Thank you, Diesel, and hello to all you fine people out there. I'm sorry that we did not record together this week, but at least you're still getting your picks, and hopefully I can do better in my gambling locks than last week, because boys and girls, it was a rough one last week. We went 6-11-1. Let's just run through everything real quick. Detroit did not cover. The New York Giants did lost by a bunch. The Miami-Green Bay game actually was a draw because they hit 47 points, which was where the over-under was at. Kansas City did not cover. The over did not hit in the Houston-Jacksonville game. New England did cover the 3 points technically, but the money line didn't come through. So I gave myself a win and a loss on that one. The LA Chargers Atlanta game did not hit the over, so the silver lock was wrong. The New York Jets should have won that game, but that second half happened, and thus the emerald lock was wrong. Washington did cover the 5.5, so bronze lock hit. Cincinnati did not cover the -3 because they got housed by the Steelers. Arizona was plus 3.5, so they did get their win there, but I said to take the money line as well, so I gave myself a win and a loss there. The need to win lock did hit as the Rams did cover. Tampa Bay did not cover the -6 because they had to go to overtime with Carolina. So the suck of Carolina lock was wrong again. Baltimore did not cover the -3. So the Raptor lock was wrong again. Buffalo, however, did cover the -7. And finally, Denver with that last pick 6 did cover the -5.5 for the gold lock. So that means overall, my locks are at this point. Bonus locks, 31, 35, and 2. The last chance / need to win lock is 5 and 5. The heart lock is 4, 4, and 2. The suck it Carolina lock is now 5 and 5. The cat scratch fever lock is 2 and 2. The fantasy fun lock is 0-3 and 2. And I will be doing it one more time this week because it wasn't wrong, just wasn't right either. So we'll try it one more time. The Raptor lock is now 6 and 7. The Emerald lock is now 5 and 7. The Bronze lock is 7 and 6. The Silver lock 8 and 5. But the granddaddy of them all, my most sure game every single week, the Gold lock is now 10 and 3 on the year. So we're still winning money, but it's, a little dicier. I think this week's going to be a good one for us, though. I have a special 2 separate heart locks this week and 2 need to win locks. So trying some stuff, but let's just jump right into those picks. So first of all, on Thursday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers are taking on the Detroit Lions. Lions are favored by 3 with a 51.5 point over under. I'm going to kind of run through these pretty quickly today because I don't have a ton to say about all these games. I do believe this is probably the game of the week. You have 2 teams that are when a rock meets a hard place, or when a moving object, I don't know, some sort of idiom like that is what this game is, because both these teams are cooking with gas right now. It is Toyota-thon, so that Jordan Love is kicking it again and really just flying that ball all over the field. And Jared Goff in this Lions offense is absolutely insane. My main concern is the defense is here. The Detroit Lions have a billion people injured, and I truly don't care who's playing defense on the other side of the ball in general against the Detroit Lions because they just know how to score points. So I will be taking the Detroit Lions in this game to win. And for a bonus lock, I will be taking the over in this game because, once again, I think a lot of points will be scored. Next, we go to Sunday football. We start with the New York Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. Not a ton to say about this game. Both of these teams are dead in the water, no playoff hopes. So who really cares? They're playing for quote unquote pride and for that paycheck, if you ask Aaron Rodgers. But because of that, with the Emerald lock of the week, I will be taking the under 45 points in this game, because I don't think either of these offenses are going to be able to do much this week. I think the Jets' defense has still been good all year, and Miami's defense is doing a lot of really good things lately. But for my game pick, I will be taking Miami to win this game because I am done with the Jets. And just like the Jets are done with Aaron Rodgers, we all agree he'll be playing somewhere else next year. Next, we move on to the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, this is the Raptor lock of the week, only because this is a massive, massive revenge game for one Mr. Kirk Cousins. And while I think Kirk might be a lot longer in the tooth and with a lot less playing time left than we all would have thought at the beginning of this season, I think that he has had this game circled all year. He is jacked up for it. And maybe he's been holding on to that last little breath of health and health reserves for this one game against his former team, because I am going with the Atlanta Falcons You can take the 5.5 points if you want, but I will be going with the money line. And this is the Raptor lock of the week. Come on, Falcons. I know you are 0-3 in your past 3 games. Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in now, I think, 4 or 5 weeks because of where their bye fell. And you guys just can't get out of your own way lately. But I think Kirk will have this team fired up, ready to go. And once again, Minnesota's kind of a sham, folks. I don't know how they ended up beating Arizona last week. That was just insane. And they are one of the most fraudulent 10-win teams that only has 2 losses. Like, I don't get it. I don't know how they keep doing this. They did this, a few years ago. I think they were like 13-3 when they got blown out by the Giants in the playoffs. They are a weird team. And really, I mean, maybe O'Connell is just a really, really good effing head coach. And that's what we all have to accept because, I mean, Sam Darnold hasn't been great and they have pulled out some wacky wins this year. But I don't think they get the job done this week. So give me the Atlanta Falcons. And with the Raptor lock of the week, I will be taking the money line, but you can feel free to take the points if that makes you feel better. The next game on Sunday at noon is the New Orleans Saints taking on the New York Giants. Once again, 2 teams that are dead in the water, playing for nothing but a paycheck and pride. Not much to say about this game. Give me the New Orleans Saints because I think the New York Giants are an absolute dumpster fire, and at least New Orleans has some pieces. Alvin Kamara will probably run for 500 yards in this game. So if you have him in fantasy football, good for you because the Giants cannot stop a running back ever. So that I will be taking New Orleans, and with the bronze lock of the week, I will be eating those 4 points. Next at noon, we head to the Carolina Panthers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Philly's really good. I hate Nick Sirianni, but Saquon Barkley is a man on a mission this year. He just wants to win more than anyone else, it feels like. And every week it feels like we're just talking about Saquon. And I still have a lot of questions about Jalen Hurts. And once again, I hate Nick Sirianni, and I don't think he's a very good coach. So I feel that he could lose them some games, but they're playing the Carolina Panthers, who, don't get me wrong, Bryce Young has looked a lot better since his benching and coming back. And they have been doing some good stuff these past few weeks. But I do believe this is a buzzsaw situation where Carolina is coming into a very rough situation where Philly needs to keep winning to try and get that 1 seed, especially if the Detroit Lions slip up or the Vikings or anything like that. So they are with the Suck It Carolina lock. I will be eating the 13 points that Philly is favored by. I don't like it one bit. It's a lot of points, but I just think Carolina has been playing really, really well these past few weeks against some teams that are either divisional foes or just maybe aren't as good as we're all pretending that they are. Kansas City. But yes, I will be taking the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. And with the Suck It Carolina lock, I'll be eating the 13 points, which is, that's a lot of points. Right. Next on the schedule, we head to the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in an AFC North divisional battle. Pittsburgh, really good this year. I don't know what that defense was last week, except for the fact that Cincinnati just has one of the best offenses in the NFL right now, but also is out of the playoffs, basically, which is just like my fantasy football teams, very sickening in a lot of ways. But we're not talking about Cincy right now. Pittsburgh is on a whole other level than the Cleveland Browns. Don't get me wrong. Jameis Winston is a lot of fun to watch, and this last week's Monday Night Football game was an absolute joy with them taking on the Denver Broncos. But once again, he threw for almost 500 yards. He threw for 4 touchdowns, but he threw for 3 back-breaking interceptions. Just who Jameis is. Jameis gonna Jameis, and against Pittsburgh, and this resurgent Russell Wilson and Jamal Harris and Najee Harris. I don't know why I call him Jamal Harris there. Against Najee Harris. I mean, this Pittsburgh offense is just cooking. And that's not to talk about this scary, scary Pittsburgh defense. Okay. I'm going to chalk up last week as an anomaly because that just doesn't usually happen. And I don't think it happens again this week. So I will be taking Pittsburgh, and with a bonus lock, I will be eating those 7 points. Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Las Vegas, you are one of the, if not the worst team in the NFL this year. And don't get me wrong, I loved your heart and gusto this past week on Friday or Black Friday football, but you couldn't get the job done. And that was your division foe. And that was your Super Bowl. So I thought you would try and keep it close. And you did. And you should have probably won that game. But, you know, when you have the Zebras on your team, it's really hard to beat two guys in one game. But yes, Las Vegas, your heart was broken last week. You're a very, very bad team who needs a new quarterback and a lot of stuff. Probably a new coach, a lot of pieces on defense, a lot of pieces on offense. I mean, you basically need to start from the ground up. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, you're playing for the division. With the way Atlanta's been playing lately and the way Baker's been baking, they have a real shot to steal the NFC South. And it starts by winning their winnable games on the schedule, like this one. So, with the gold lock of the week, of course I'm putting it on the cockroach. I will be eating the minus 6.5 points and going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield, even though I still hate their coach. And he's terrible and should still be fired. But that's neither here nor there. Tampa Bay is winning this week, and I think they easily cover those 6.5 points. Now, on to our final noon game of the week. We have, man, week 14 kind of sucks. There's a lot of good teams on bye, and there's a lot of games that really don't matter except for draft positioning come next April. But yes, final noon game is the Mac Jones Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Levis-led Tennessee Titans. Wow, just gross. You all know, if you listen to this podcast, how I feel about Mac Jones, and I will, of course, never, ever pick that effing loser because I hate him. I hate Chucklefuck Jones, and he's not my friend. He's not my QB, and he's not even a guy that I want to see succeed. I hate you, Mac Jones, and you set the Patriots back a lot. So, with that, with the silver lock of the week, I will be taking the Tennessee Titans, and I will be eating that minus 3.5 points because, listen, Tennessee's offense suddenly can do some stuff. I don't think it's going to continue, but Jacksonville's really, really bad. And this might be Doug Peterson's last game as a Jacksonville Jaguar coach. I know it doesn't make a ton of sense to fire a coach this late in the season. Usually it's not really for the betterment of the team or anything, but I can't see them. If they lose to a division foe, the way they've lost some of these games this year, it's clearly time for a change. I like Doug Peterson and everything like that. I think he is a good coach, or he was a good coach. I don't know what happened to him, but it is just not working here in Jacksonville. And especially with Trevor Lawrence being out for the rest of the year, going to IR, just time to start cleaning house. Get Doug Peterson out of there. Maybe see if any of your younger assistants might have some juice in them and might be, available for a head coaching position. But otherwise, you can start the process now of trying to find next year's head coach. So yes, I will take the Tennessee Titans in this game. And with the silver lock of the week, I will be eating at minus 3.5 points. Moving on to our slate of late afternoon games. Once again, only 3 of them in the late slot. So red zone will be a little boring, but all 3 of these games are at least interesting. I think we're going to have some fun afternoon games. But we'll start with the Seattle Sea Chickens taking on the Arizona Cardinals. This is a huge game for the NFC West. This is the 2 top teams in this division right now. They are tied in the number 1 seed for the playoff spot. And let's be honest, folks, if you're not winning the West, you're not making the playoffs this year, because none of these teams' records, they have beat the crap out of each other and also lost some really, really dumb games. So yes, this is a need to win lock. And I am putting it on the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, I will be eating that minus 2.5 points. I know the Cardinals are a weird team. I can't get away from them, folks. All right. Trey McBride is the Julio Jones of this NFL this year. He has so many yards and receptions, but no touchdowns. And Kyler Murray does absolutely magical things with the ball and then throws some of the worst interceptions that you will ever see, like that one against the Vikings where he was backpedaling and just threw it up to no one. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. was kind of close, but that was such a bad moon ball and such a bad pass that's the kind of stuff that he does that drives me and everyone else crazy about him. But I don't know. I really like this team. I like this defense. And I don't believe in the Sea Chickens. I really don't. They can't run the ball. They play some interesting defense, but they also seem to not play defense at times. It's what Sea Chickens team is going to show up. And I mean, if they don't throw that pick six on the goal line, Aaron Rodgers, that is, against them, the Sea Chickens get blown out in that game. I don't think they make a comeback. And this game has a totally different connotation if both teams come in with a loss. But I don't know. I think the Cardinals coming off of that dumb loss to the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle coming off of that crazy win, I just think that things will be a little flipped emotionally. And I can just see, I think Arizona gets their win back after losing to them in Seattle, and that makes this NFC West even more interesting. So yes, with a need to win lock, I will be taking the Arizona Cardinals, and I will be eating at -2.5 points. Next, we go to the Buffalo Bills taking on the LA Rams. And the brain is telling me one thing, but thing in my chest, I just can't not listen to it sometimes. And Diesel has killed it this year by throwing analytics out the window. I have not had the greatest year of doing that, but you know what? I'm going to try and be more like Diesel, and I just can't. I don't know. I tried to pick Buffalo so many times. I was like, Buffalo's the better team. They've been killing it. They have the probably MVP leading their team right now. And yet, I'm taking the LA Rams. I am in on this Rams team. It's at SoFi, which I know doesn't mean anything because SoFi is barely a home stadium for either of the LA teams because LA people just don't care about football. But it is a long road trip for Buffalo. I don't know. I don't believe in Buffalo as much as everyone else does. I still think there are cracks here. I think they're really, really good. Don't get me wrong. They're 10-2 and they deserve to be it. Unlike the Minnesota Vikings, they have beat some good teams, but Josh Allen, while the MVP, can also be a little bit erratic. And if you rattle him in the beginning, you can get him to start doing some dumb things. And Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense, they can score points, especially with the boys all back together. Kyron Williams running the ball. I mean, this Rams offense is good, and there are so many young pieces on this Rams defense that I think they can get the job done. So with the heart lock, I will be taking the money line on this game. If you don't feel as confidently, you can take the +4. I mean, I believe that no matter what, the Rams will not lose this game by more than a field goal. Matthew Stafford will hold them in it by scratching and clawing as hard as he can to make sure of that. So if you don't trust in them winning, go with the +4. But I will be taking the money line with the heart lock, and I think the LA Rams beat the Buffalo Bills in a stunner. Moving on to our final Sunday afternoon game, we have the Chicago Bears traveling to the San Francisco 49ers. And once again, I'm throwing analytics out the window in this game because my brain is telling me one thing, but my heart, my second heart, yes, I'm a time doctor, or a Time Lord, if you didn't know. Doctor Who, some might call me. But yes, I have two hearts. And thus, the second heart lock of the week is going on the Chicago Bears. Listen, they lost in terrible fashion on Thursday, on Thanksgiving. That was embarrassing. But they excised the problem. Eberflus is finally gone. This offense has looked pretty solid under this new O coordinator, and he's now the interim coach. I think these guys are going to come out and they're going to play with a fire that we haven't seen from the Bears all year because, listen, I think Eberflus lost the locker room way back when they lost on that Hail Mary to the Commies. I know that wasn't his fault, but it just felt like the Bears team totally changed after that game, and Eberflus has just been down, down, down. So with him gone, I think this team comes out and plays with a fire. And on the other hand, the San Francisco 49ers, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Like, they're not going to win the West. I think they might lose most of the rest of their games. No Christian McCaffrey, no Ayuk, no Mason. I mean, their whole team is dropping like flies. They don't have anyone on defense anymore. I feel bad for them. They cannot stay healthy or do anything. And with that loss last week, Like at this point, you might want to keep losing. Put the tank on, get a better draft pick, play for next year. CMC will be back and you guys can take another shot at it. But this year, it's a loss year for San Fran. And I just think Chicago comes out and maybe tries to get this interim head coach a real coaching tag because, yeah, they seem to play for him really well. And I don't believe in San Fran this year. Not that I totally believe in Chicago or anything, but I believe in them more this week than I do the San Francisco 49ers. So with the second heart lock of the week, give me the Chicago Bears. I will be taking the money line on the game. But once again, if you're not as confident as me, you can take the +4. It's a great +4. I mean, even if it only goes down to 3.5, you got to love having that hook. Most NFL games are determined by 3 points. So got to love it. Okay, moving on to Sunday Night Football. We have a huge AFC West divisional matchup. We have the LA Superchargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And come on, you all know who I'm on this one. And I'm sure Diesel guessed it correctly as well, because folks, the Chiefs have been playing with fire far too long. I think I saw a stat this week that they have won, I think, the past 14, maybe even more, one-score games, which is just an astronomical amount of one-score games to win. And don't get me wrong, I know Patrick Mahomes is good, but he has not been very good this year. And Justin Herbert, the last time they played, they could have won that game too. And this Chargers team is so much better than they were than the last time they played in LA. I know this game's in Kansas City. I know how good Patrick Mahomes is in primetime games. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. I am going with the LA Superchargers, and this is the second need to win lock because Chargers need this game. There is a lot of strong contenders in the AFC for playoffs, and really, if they can win this game, they could steal the West from the Chiefs, and that would be huge to be able to get a home playoff game and not have to go through Kansas City or not have to play 3 road games in a row to make a Super Bowl. Because this Chargers team, they're set up to win. They really are. Even with losing J.K. Dobbins, this offense is cooking. Harbaugh has this defense playing great. And this is Kansas City's game to lose. They almost lost to the Raiders. They almost lost to Carolina. And the Chargers are a team that is far superior to either of those dumpster dwelling teams. So this is the week. The Chargers need to win this game. They need to prove that they are here and that they are ready to ascend in the NFL. And that is why I am taking the LA Superchargers this week to win. And I will be taking the +4. Really, I'm taking the money line in the game because I think they will win outright. But once again, if you aren't as confident as me, take the 4 points because the Chargers will hold it close. I know they lost by 7 last time, but this time they're coming for blood. Harbaugh got his first taste of Andy Reid, and he now knows how to beat him. So I think the Chargers can get it done this week in Kansas City. Moving on to our final football game of the week, we have the Monday Night Football game, which has the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And I am going with the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. Once again, not a ton to talk about because both these teams are basically statistically eliminated from playoff contention at this point. I mean, I think there might be an outside shot that Cincinnati might be able to sneak in if a bunch of things happen and every chip fell right. But really, Dallas is all the way out of it. And Cincinnati really doesn't have a shot in hell after losing last week to Pittsburgh. They needed that victory very badly. So with that being said, I really will be watching it because there's a lot of fun players in it. And with it being week 14, this is the final fantasy football week of the regular season for most people. So thus, with the fantasy fun lock of the week, take the over in this game because Cincinnati can't play defense and Dallas has given up 30 plus points at home basically every time this year in all 8 games. So with those 2 statistics there, that's basically all I need to hear to take the over in a football game. But yes, so the fantasy fun lock is on the over in the Cincinnati-Dallas game, and I will be taking Cincinnati to win. Right. Those are all our picks for the week. Another bye-mageddon with 6 teams on bye, so kind of a short slate of games this week, but there's a couple good ones with a lot of stinkers. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are already out of the playoff race. It seems this is a kind of a boring year for the playoffs where there's not a lot of bubble teams. There's very few teams where you're looking at like, ooh, maybe they can sneak in. It's really all we're talking about is seeding and if who might win a certain division. Sans that, there's not a lot of intrigue. But with that, make sure you're like, commenting, sharing, subscribing. Why not down in the comments? Why don't you put who your biggest surprise team is and whether that's the good surprise where you thought they were going to be, really bad and they turned out to be really great, or what team did you think was going to be really great and turned out to be absolute dog shit? Because at week 14, we definitely know who's dog shit and who's actually pretty damn good. For my buddy Diesel, who was on the first half of this episode, I have been Chad. We thank you all so much for tuning in. If you are, just make sure I don't do the end of this show. I'm not used to doing this anymore. Whatever. Let's go watch some football. Bye.
This has been a Visionaries Global Media production. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.